In this video we will learn how to use the daylight system in 3D Studio Max with mental way. The first thing I should check or be aware of in what kind of units I'm working. I use centimeters and that my system units is in centimeters. And I just have to see if my building or just the room has the right dimensions. It's 10 meters long. I can just see this here in my taper. So this already means that I can work in physically correct dimensions. The next thing I should add is my mental way render presets. I use my presets from digitales-entwerfen. I just go into presets and now into load. And for my internet page digitales-entwerfen, you can download the DE presets. I choose one DE standard mental way render presets. I just load them, and I just want to use all the parameters from effects to global illumination. And this makes sure that the settings are like in my scene and that I can work with my daylight system and properly. All the materials I'm using for my little example are really simple Autodesk mental way materials. The only thing which I always do, I just always enable ambient occlusion and with a maximum distance of 120 in this terms centimeters. And if you do this, your rendering more or less automatically looks like this. Okay, let's start. The first thing I do, I just open my environment and exposure settings. And what I use my default enhanced menu settings. So it looks probably slightly different than the normal 3D Studio settings, but I like it quite a lot because it's a little bit more graphical and more intuitive to navigate. So you can just change here in the settings from workspace default to enhance menu if you want this. If you start to set up a scene from scratch, it's normally like this, that there is no environmental map and also nothing in your background in terms of mapping. So we just see if we enter a daylight system what's already happening with this one. For the daylight system you go into create and then you go into systems. And here it's important that you choose the daylight system and not the sunlight system. By the way, we just do one little thing beforehand. We just go into our environment and exposure control. We just go into render preview, and you can just see an error that there are no photon emitters in the scene right now. This will change. If I just go into my daylight system, I can set up my compass. And it asked me, you're creating mental way sky. Do you also want to enter mental physical sky environment? I want this. And I click another time, and then I already set up my daylight system. And you can see in my environment map, before there was no map, and I can now see my mental way physical sky map, which produces actually the sun and all my background in terms of the sky. By the way, my daylight system consists of two different kind of elements. If I go into my select, you can see that here is my compass and my daylight system. If I choose my compass, you can see there's not much intelligent behind this. I just have a look at this in my front view with my basic grid, and you can just change the size. And this does not do anything. It just also doesn't matter where you position this in my scene, because sunlight at the end of the day is parallel light. So all the things where you put your sunlight is not really important. You can turn your system. I turn it a little bit, and like this. And we just choose my camera. Window right now, and I go into render preview, and we just have a look with my first little rendering in my preview. Okay, here we go. It's really dark, and what I have to do is I just have to higher a little bit the way in terms of my exposure. If you want to increase the exposure, then you just have to choose smaller numbers. If you want to make it slightly darker, then you have to choose bigger numbers. This video should just give you a basic introduction into Daylight System to do a nice renderings. So there are only very few things I would like to show you in your exposure control. One thing you already learned: if the numbers are small, then it's brighter. If the numbers are bigger, then it's less bright. And there's also one thing you really have to know, really important. It's a little bit like a digital SLR camera. You can change the white point, and here 6500 Kelvin is the normal color temperature with the daylight at 12 o'clock without sun. And here you can just change the color in terms of Kelvin, like the white point. It is also really important that you're able to control this, and every other settings are not really important for you right now. Okay, let's have a look at the daylight system. We just choose our daylight head, our assembly head, and also here it is like this. It doesn't do anything if the distance is high or if the distance is small, because it's parallel light. It's just a visual thing. All the settings here are not important. You can activate it, the sunlight, you can activate the mental wave sky. If I just deactivate this, then you still have to deactivate your map, otherwise you will still see through the window your light. And all these settings I would just not touch. You can possibly think about that you increase the samples of your shadows if they are not really really smooth, but that's not important. Everything right now is not such important. We probably look at very few things later on. I would just leave it like it is. What you can do, what is really important, you should change your setups in terms of data, time and location. If I go into setup, there's only one thing. You go from modify into hierarchy. So you can also just go into from modify into motion. You can just also just click on motion, and here it's quite nice. You can set up the hours. You can just say I want to do a visualization at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You can change the month. You can also get into get location, and you just say you want to have Europe, for example, like Frankfurt. And if your town is not there, you can just enter the latitude and the longitude of your location, and that's it. Very few things I also want to show you. Again, this orbital scale doesn't do anything. It's just a visual thing. So it just that the distance looks good, and you can work with your 3D model quite well. But one thing you really have to understand, you have to understand that you can change the north direction. And here you can see how the light moves into your render scene. And I always recommend to change the north direction, and don't turn your 3D model, because with your 3D model you always want to have something orthogonal. You definitely don't want to have something twisted, because it's much easier to build in an orthogonal system and just better change the daylight system. Okay, with these settings we just do our first visualization. We go into our render view again. We just have a look on what it looks like, and it's obviously too bright. I just change the brightness slightly like this, and we just go into our render setup and choose for a first test a decent size, probably like 800 pixel, and we just go into rendering and see what it looks like. Okay, here we go. That's the result after 92 seconds on my computer, which is, I think, already pretty fast. I think it also looks really really good. And that's about the daylight system. And there are probably still some things we would like to learn, and we just look at these things right now. The first thing, I just go into my camera and I choose a different camera, so we can look out of the window. And I change my time again. I change my time that it's slightly later, a little bit like 7 o'clock in the evening. And I can change my north direction again in a way that I can already see my daylight system in my window, probably again slightly later like this. And if I go into my render preview, which makes it much faster, then I can just see my sun, and it depends on how I set my renderings. I can have a visualization where I can see, for example, my my sun really like a really nice sunset. Okay, here we go after 18 seconds. And there are very few adjustments on my daylight assembly head I would like to show you. First, you can change the height of your horizon. If I just go into -3, we just use my render preview again. And you can just see that the horizon moved slightly lower. It's I can just see it's just gone. If I go into -1, we just do it again, and then you can probably see it again. Here we go. So you can just move your horizon. You can also blur it a little bit. If I just choose my blur of 0.7, or just try a really high number like 2, and I go into my render preview again, you can just see that your horizon is just not such a strong line anymore. And here we can see the same thing in our visualization. The horizon is more or less just gone through my blur. Right now you have really nice weather in your sky, and you can change this. You have the possibility to change the haze from 0 until 15. 15 is a really strong overcast. If I, for example, go into 7 and I start again my visualization, then you can see that the sun is more or less gone, and you have a little bit of an overcast on a completely different situation of weather. And here obviously you have to make it bright again. You have to expand your exposure value. If I go into my rendering again, you can just see with this kind of setting that it already has a completely different look. Here we go. What you can see is again here two visualizations with a little bit of an overcast of 4, and on the left side I have a white point with a color temperature of 4500 Kelvin, and on the right side I have the same visualization with a white point color temperature of 6500 Kelvin, and you just see that the white point is really important to adjust. It's as important as the exposure value for your rendering. Okay, we want to finish this video with some problems you can have and solutions. The first problem is it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work, it already doesn't work with your render preview, and I can just show you one example why it probably doesn't work. You can just see that I just turn my lighting system into this direction, and I choose my camera and go into render preview, and now we are waiting. And this is a really fast computer, a really nice workstation, and nothing is happening, and we will wait for a really long time, and I just have to stop with my escape key, because we can wait for minutes, hours, it's just not happening. And the only thing I did, I just turned my light. But there's an important point about this. This room only has, and I just move it a little bit into perspective, orthogonal mode. I just go into my shaded, that I can just see there are windows. And if there is no direct light in my window, the daylight has problems. It's a little bit like you have a torch and you just show it into the sky, and you just expect that the light comes back from the moon. It will take years. And if there is something, and I just move it again to the position where it doesn't work. If I, for example, have just something like a box on the other side, like this one, I just have a look at this in my front view, and again I go into my render view, then it's a completely different situation. It works in seconds again. There's only one reason: it just reflects here onto my box, and from the box it again reflects into my room, and it's just really green right now because I expect that my box is just green. I can just see my box is green. If my box gets any other color and I go into my render preview again, then you just see that everything looks pretty well. And here you also see that material in combination with color is really important. So always, if it doesn't work, just see that your sun has a chance to reflect on something to get into your room, or even better, that it just immediately goes into your room. There's one other thing which can bring you into trouble. For example, you have a room and there are only very small windows, for example like this. And this means very little photons will get into your room. If I go into my render preview, you already see that this is only a very small slot, so you have to increase the exposure values, so go for a smaller number. And if you have a look at this, at the visualization, this is more or less the result, and then you can see these dots, and this doesn't look good, and the reason is there are not enough photons in your room. What you can do are two things. The first thing is you have something like a light lister. You go into lights and into mental way skylights, and you can just draw this light into your scene. I just go into my left window viewport, and I just draw my my mental sky portals into my scene, and you can just see that this mental sky portal has something like an arrow for my lux direction, and I just move it exactly on the position where my window glass is. And what this actually does, it just increases the amount of photons, and depends on also the amount of light into your room. So we just see what it does in relation to my first visualization with more or less the same settings. Okay, let's have a look. On the right side you see my rendering with my mental sky portals, and it looks completely different to the visualization on the left side, where you can see these weird dots. So the mental sky portals do a lot. They really change the settings completely. So it's even a little bit too bright, but you have to be aware of one thing. You definitely get a nice rendering again if you change the white points and everything. So that's fine with a really nice atmosphere. But it increases the render time. So this was 28 seconds, this is only 17 seconds. So just use your sky portals when you really need them. But for Windows, for small windows and things like this, they're really good. Alternatively to your sky portals, and I definitely recommend sky portals, you can also try another render setup. My render setup standard is optimized for fast renderings, for quite normal interior lighting situations. If you go into these settings, probably like higher for few light with mental ray presets, then I just want to load my environment, my render elements, NVIDIA, mental ray, global illumination and processing. And if I choose this and go again into rendering, you just see the result some seconds later. By the way, with this example, it was not some seconds, it was actually 3 minutes 30 with my new render settings, and on the right side we can still see my sky portals with 30 seconds. And if you have many sky portals in your scene, it's probably worth changing my render settings. And you can also try, instead of this setting like higher for few light, you can just choose my higher presentation, or you just have to get into these settings, global illumination by yourself, which is a little bit complex, but you can figure it out and optimize render time and also the look of your visualization. Thanks for watching.